All right, so now let's look at some background images. And so what I did was I did a search for background tile images. And the idea here is that we're going to create or get a relatively small image. You can go ahead and look through these. I mean, it's easy to find images. And the idea is that, let me show you the one I downloaded here. So I downloaded one and it is this background image. So the idea is it's relatively small and I want to put that as my background image on my page, but there's different ways that you can go about doing it. So I'll show you some of the different ways in this video. So we had this background red, so you can leave it red if you want, just so you have a background color. But let's just do, first of all, I need to identify what the image is. So I'm going to use background image, and we use this option called URL. And URL is then we're going to put in the name of our image. So in this case, it's bkimage.jpg. And then when you save it, you'll see that that one little image is just tiling itself automatically over and over. It's repeating itself across and down, so it looks like one large image. And because of the way that image was created, there's a little bit of line here, but most of the time those tiled images are created in such a way that they don't give a seam. They don't show a seam like a cross. It's really nicely done. You don't see a seam, even though this is probably replicated 3 or 4 different times. And so those are called tiled images, and they're used in background images a lot because we don't know how big or small our page might be, and so we don't want to download a huge image, so we just get a smaller image that can scale, pattern itself across our website. So what else can we do with this? Well, we also have control over how that tiling happens. So we can use something called background repeat, and there's various options. Repeat is what we have going on right now. This is the default, where it just repeats itself over and over and over again. We can do repeat X, and I'll save that so you can see it. So that's just going to repeat itself against a horizontal axis. So it's going to go across, and then it's going to stop. The other side of that is if you have an image that you just want to repeat downward. That might look nice depending on what you're trying to do. You also have no repeat, and so we might just have it show up once. No repeat, repeat. And so it's just going to stick in the top left-hand corner, and we'll see later how you can move that around, which you can. Another one that's kind of cool is space. And if you space it, then it's going to try and make, depending on how wide you are, it's going to try and make appropriate spacing accordingly. So that is how we can do, and you can set that to, it doesn't have to just be the body. You could set it to one of your semantic tags. You can set it to a header. You can set it to whatever tag you feel appropriate to have a background image. So let's go back to this other option where we had background no repeat. No repeat. And if you use no repeat, then you can also give it a position. In other words, let's see, let's do background position. I'm going to do bottom. I want it to be in the bottom right. And this is going to look a little strange at first because it looks like, well, that's not the bottom. Well, it's the bottom of the web page because the web page is only this big. In other words, let me do this. Let's, under our header, let's make a P tag, and we'll give it some lorem ipsum text. And then we'll save it. And now you'll see that the web page is larger, and so it is in fact putting itself, this is kind of an ugly example, but it's now putting itself in the bottom right-hand corner of that image, of that web page. So if I had another paragraph, lorem ipsum 75, we'll just make it super big. Oh, that didn't work. Lorem, what did I do wrong? Let's try that again. P, lorem 75, and tab. Then you'll see that, again, as big as the page is, it's putting itself in the bottom right or the bottom whatever. So you can do top right, you can do bottom. There's lots of different positionings there. So you can see that your background repeat, if you put no repeat, you can also specify where you want that image to show up within that container that you're setting it in. So that is our background image. Here's some other examples in W3 Schools to demonstrate some other options. Here we have a background repeat, so this image is always going to stay there, but we've got this option, a background attachment, scroll, and so that image is scrolling with the text. So that's another styling I would look up if I were you. Something else you can do is background attachment. So this particular image is it's fixed. It doesn't move anywhere, but this background size is cover, so that image is going to take up the entire space. Here's a better example of background size. So this is what this image looks like originally by itself. So other things you can do with the background size is you can alter the ratios if you need to for whatever reason. Or you can do what's called cover, which is what we just saw. And cover is, it's going to take up that whole space, but it might have to extend beyond the space in order to take up the whole space. Or you can contain, which means however you can put that whole image as much space as you possibly can. So cover is one that's seen a lot because it takes up the whole background, and you just are not necessarily concerned if it might get chopped off a little bit. So those are some other properties I would experiment with the background image, and that should set you up with background images.